We're going to the playoffs! What's up, Sooner Nation, and welcome back to another edition of the WhackoReview Podcast, where we go over all things OU football every Monday after the weekend of matchups behind us. I'm Steve Curtis, the voice behind Wacko Sooners, and your Oklahoma Sooners are 10-2 and have probably locked their spot in the college football playoff. They've remained at number 8 in the AP Top 25. Odds are they will stay at number 8 in the college football playoff rankings. Those come out on Tuesday. If they drop or even rise, which I doubt the rising, but if any changes occur, we will certainly address that when the time comes. But other than that, we've got plenty to dive into today. We've got to review Oklahoma's performance, offense, defense, special teams, where they went right, where they went wrong, what needs to be focused on heading into the postseason 3 weeks from now. And of course, what all of this means for Brent Venables as head coach, the vindication he must be feeling, and the weight that this win has for the entire program in terms of the coaches, the players, recruits even, and the fans as well. We're going to break all of it down right here on Wacko Sooners. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. We are available here on YouTube as well as over on Spotify. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, game highlights, and of course some memes to keep it lighthearted and fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation, particularly now after the season that Brent Venables has managed to put together. There are a lot of Tiger King memes surfing around in the cloud right now. Everywhere. Brent Venables walking 3 tigers on a leash. It's everywhere. So, you want the memes? Join us here on Wacko Sooners. We would love to have you go hit those follows so you are always in the Wacko loop. Now, before we get started, I would like to take care of one little housekeeping thing. Given that the regular season for 2025 has officially come to a close, and we've been doing Wacko previews on Fridays and Wacko reviews on Mondays, going over every game of the season, since we do not have any more games. Well, we have one game. We have playoff games, but the regular season's over. The Wacko previews and Wacko reviews are going to cease. They will come back for the playoff game or games, depending on how many of those there are. But this does not affect the amount of content that we're going to be putting up here. We will, of course, still meet with y'all every week here on the Wacko Sooners podcasts. But we won't be doing the Wacko previews and reviews as much as we have been just because there aren't as many games anymore. Again, we will bring them back for the playoff game or games, singular or plural, depending. So, throughout this little weaning period that we're going to be having, we're actually going to be doing a recruiting special Friday, 8 a.m. Central Time this week, going over the 2026 recruiting class because the early signing period is this week, all right? So we're going to break down every recruit, who they are, where they come from, what they can bring to Oklahoma, what they can bring to the table, and what this program can do for them, how they can develop them and make them better football players, strength to strength, weakness to weakness maybe, and then, of course, just the general outlook that Oklahoma is going to have looking ahead with these younger guys coming in 2026. So that takes care of housekeeping right there. We can go ahead and dive into the game and our regular Wacko review. So, final score, Oklahoma 17, LSU 13. And if there's one word or phrase I can think of to describe this, it is hard to kill. It is hard to kill, man. We've been hearing that so much lately, like, people are making fun of us for saying it now, and I'm like, dude, it's freaking true. You look at this game, that is the definition of it. Takes a licking, keeps on kicking. Enough is enough. My goodness. This team has got to figure out how to not send my blood pressure through the roof. I'm 22 years old and thought that I was going to need to go to the hospital to get medicated because of how hard my heart was pumping. I thought I was about to have a heart attack. Now, that being said, with all the emotions, let's put those down and kind of push it off to the side. We can get emotional a little bit later. But Oklahoma had a grand total of 392 yards, 318 passing, which is the first time since week 1 that John Mateer has thrown for over 300 yards. Week 1 against Illinois State, he shattered Baker Mayfield's Oklahoma debut record, which was 390, and John Mateer goes for 392. And then he shows up against this LSU defense and throws for his second biggest performance of the year. However, there is a rub, which we will get to, which I'm sure you all know about. And of course, Oklahoma had 75 rush yards, 6 yards per play, 14 first downs, 4 of 15 on third. Ugh. I mean, I get it. We were limited at running back, but dadgum, guys. Yeesh. 0 for 1 on 4th down. And then, of course, here's the rub that I mentioned a moment ago. John Mateer threw 3 interceptions. One of which wasn't really his fault. One of which was just a freak one, right? The other 2, dude's driving to go score, and he just stares down. He just stares him down. Oh, man, bad decisions. We can talk about that when we get to the quarterback play specifically. However, probably, I want to say, other than the scoreboard and John Mateer's 300-plus passing yards, the shining crown jewel in this victory is 0 sacks on the offense. Rah, rah, go team! And this was with Jake Michaela out with an infection. He was in the hospital earlier this week praying for his healthy, speedy recovery, more so the health than the speed. Want him to be healthy as opposed to speedy healthy. Of course, we'd like to have him back. But get healthy first. Worry about how fast you're going to do it later. This was without Jake Michaela, with Fabechi Wewu starting at center, Ryan Foje at right guard, and Derek Simmons at right tackle. Well done to the offensive line without your leader who's been there all season. And Fabechi Wewu, didn't hear his name once over the broadcast. So, dude did a fantastic job. Didn't give anything up. Dude was a rock. Bravo. Give Fabechi Wewu his laurels after Saturday's performance. It was fantastic. So proud of him. LSU's offense, 13 points, right? Field goal, touchdown, another field goal to take the lead. And then, of course, Oklahoma came back with that crazy touchdown, which we will also talk about here later. But LSU had a grand total of 198 total yards. That is the fewest number of yards that Oklahoma's defense has given up against a Power 4 opponent this year. Bravo. Props. Now, of course, we know the LSU offense is abysmal, of course, but still, the defense came up and did their job. But LSU had 113 pass yards, 85 rush, 3.6 yards per play, 9 first downs. They were 2 of 14 on 3rd, 0 for 1 on 4th, 1 interception, courtesy of Peyton Bowen, who had a couple of big moments in this game. And both Bowens, Eli and Peyton, have been balling out this year. So proud of both of them. We will talk about that as well. But then, of course, LSU allowed 0 sacks on the day as well. I was kind of surprised by that. I figured that Oklahoma's front 7 would have gotten home a couple of times. I was expecting at least 3 or 4 sacks on the day. However, that did not come to fruition. So those are the offensive overviews of the day. We can jump into John Mateer and what the heck was going on Saturday. 23 for 38, so about a 60.5% completion, 318 yards, as we mentioned. 2 touchdowns, which were huge. Both of those were huge, and they were the explosive kind. The first one to Burks was just like a little pass out to the flat, and then Burks cut back in and just took off and managed to get there just before the DB caught his foot. So good on Dion. That was his first touchdown since the pop pass against Michigan in week 2 back in September. So good job, Dion, for getting yours, buddy. Good job, man. Dion just cemented himself in a major OU comeback. Like, we will remember Dion for eternity after that, even if, if he's not super productive in the playoff game or games, like, Dion has still solidified himself as an Oklahoma legend just with that play, or at least in my opinion. And it kind of stinks for Dion because it got outshined about 10, 15 minutes later when Isaiah Sategna is found out in the open with no LSU defenders within a county of him for a 58-yard touchdown bomb from Mateer. So both Mateer and Sategna saved the day. Both of them saved the frickin' day. Bravo. But we will talk about them a little bit more later as well. Point is, Mateer, the 3 interceptions were horrific. One of them I give grace because he threw the pick, then ran right after the guy that got it and pushed him out of bounds, which set Peyton Bowen up for his interception on literally the next play. So it ended up being a net 0. But the other 2, he just looked out of it the first 3.5 quarters, really. I mean, I think this was his worst performance. Yes, he threw for 300 yards. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns. But he doesn't And yes, he threw 3 interceptions against Texas, and he had way fewer yards. But he doesn't have the same weight behind the thumb excuse as he does now, right? Or then, I guess. Because Texas, you're 2 weeks off of surgery. Yeah, we'll give you grace because your thumb is still kind of screwed up. Versus 2 months after the fact. He's doing way too much pre-snap locking in. He sees the look pre-snap and doesn't adjust and make his reads throughout the play. He was staring down targets all night long. The interception down the sideline, I think it was his third one of the night. He just stares Giovanni Gibson down the sideline and throws it way low. And just the DB was between him and Gibson the entire way. And he just stared him down and said, I'm going to throw it anyways. That's not going to work, John. Absolutely not. The other one, I could kind of see what he was trying to do. He was just really inaccurate with it. Poor decision. It was too tight of a window to risk it. Happy feet all night long. His fundamentals. Everyone's been giving him crap about his mechanics and fundamentals all season. And for a while, Oklahoma fans, including myself, were going like, it's okay. He's making the plays. If he's making plays and winning games, who cares what the mechanics look like? It's no longer a matter of what the mechanics look like. It's a matter of what the mechanics are costing you. Because the batted pass that led to that first interception could have been avoided with a higher release point. Because John released it like here instead of up over the top. Higher release point, you avoid that. Higher release point, you have better accuracy. You plant your feet and use your hips more, you're more accurate. So it's terrible. And sure, it's never looked pretty, and that's part of what Oklahoma's liked about him. He's not conventional. He's kind of crazy. He's kind of wild. But it's getting to the point, or not even getting to the point. It is at the point where it needs to be fixed. Otherwise, there needs to be a serious conversation about quarterback at Oklahoma for 2026. And I don't say that with anything personal against John. And I do understand we won 10 games. He's the reason we beat Auburn. He's the reason we beat Michigan. He's the reason we beat Alabama probably with that 20-yard touchdown run. He's the reason we beat LSU. Granted, he was part of the reason why we were in such a bad spot in the first place. But you got to figure out the fundamentals, guys. John Kuzieski, I understand that there's a personal relationship between him at quarterback's coach and John Mateer. I understand there's a personal relationship. But there's been no progression through his mechanics in the year. Now, of course, you can't fix all of it overnight. Now, Josh Allen, his rookie year in the NFL, he was pretty inaccurate, had nagging shoulder pain. What does he do? He goes in the offseason to work with Chris Hess and fixes his throwing motion, changes it completely, revolutionizes it. The next year, he's more accurate, an NFL record for improvement from first year to second year, and he wasn't in as much physical pain. So find someone to work with John on the fundamentals of his mechanics. Because right now, he's dancing all over the place. He's releasing it here. He's just all over the place. All over the place. And the inaccuracy is ridiculous. The amount of batted down passes because of it is ridiculous. It's not going to work here anymore. You can't be doing it, John. Now, another issue that's been going on, and we did talk about how he was just staring DBs down right in the face when they were between him and his receivers. Something is not working quite right in the mental aspect of the game. He's not progressively making his reads. He missed Jermichael Carter for what would have been a big gain. There was no one within 10 yards of Jermichael Carter. Would have been probably a 30-yard gain. But no, he was locked in on Sategna and Jaron Kanak, which I understand those are your most reliable guys. But you gotta put it out there to the open man. I don't care who it is. If they are open 10 yards in every direction and they can go get a few more afterwards, you give it to them. Now, all that being said, he did come up in the moments when you needed him the absolute most. One can argue, but you need your quarterback the whole game. Yes. But in the have-to-have-it moments where you had to go and take the lead, had to have it, he made the right call. Made the swing pass to Deion Burks and trusted Deion to go and get his touchdown. Then the up-tempo play on that drive to go and score the final touchdown, Sategna just busts the coverages And John, luckily, and I believe actually what happened was Ben Arbuckle had that play set up before, and it was Jermichael Carter and Isaiah Sategna were in different positions. But then on that big touchdown play, knowing that John loves to stare down Sategna, Arbuckle flips Carter and Sategna. So John immediately looks for Sategna and sees him all the way out there, all the way in the back. And just says, oh, perfect. And beautiful throw. I think his best throw of the year. That or probably one of the two big Deion Burks passes there in those first two games of the year. Or even the crazy in the pocket one to Sategna against Alabama. That one was awesome too. That was a great one. But that Sategna touchdown on Saturday might be Mateer's best pass of the year, in my opinion. Just look at how it came off. That right there is what you need him to do. That is the way he needs to pass. Just looking at how he planted his feet, how he turned into it, stepped into it, perfect. As far as his crazy sidearm mechanics go. Now, John is getting a lot of flack, which he should. You can't be throwing 3 interceptions. You can't be playing like that. You can't, because we've seen you do better. But you brought John Mateer to Oklahoma with Ben Arbuckle for moments like that, when you need them to cook up something, and they got to have it. They'll go and get it when they really, really need it. And John did. So, I'm in agreement with Brenton Arbuckle, and I believe in John Mateer. But that's not blind belief. That is, I believe in you, but I believe in you more if you fix some stuff. Go find Drew Brees. Go get Drew Brees and say, Drew Brees, teach John Mateer how to throw the football. That would unlock so many doors. Like, if Mateer's mechanics and accuracy, as a result of his mechanics, were so far improved, such a different look at John Mateer this season. Could potentially still be up for the Heisman. Who knows? Okay, that's a crazy take. But anyway, that's what we're here for. We're here for crazy fan takes. So, gotta figure out John's mechanics and his understanding of the scheme, and which is weird to say because he's been in Arbuckle's system. This is 3rd or 4th year. Yeah, this is his 2nd year running the offense. Third year in the system, 2nd year running it. You've gotta be willing to look around and make the open reads. You got to, man. Now, I'm saying fix stuff for the postseason, and of course you can't fix everything in the postseason. You're not going to fix his entire throwing motion in 3 weeks. You can fix some of his stuff, though. You can fix his footwork a little bit. Get him to stop playing happy feet. You can try to get him to calm down with his eyes and make the open reads. And you can improve his manipulation of the defense with his shoulders and his eyes and just the way his body moves. Like, his release point doesn't have to be perfect, right? But you can at least change how he presents himself to the defense to better manipulate them and make his job so much easier if he just does the little things up front. So, of course, there's plenty to be concerned about, a lot to be addressed, but we've got 3 weeks to do it, or the coaches have 3 weeks to do it, excuse me. I hope that they can. Now, as for Mr. Mateer's weapons, 4 of them had a pretty dang good day. All right, Jaren Kanak was 6 for 54 yards. That was probably one of his better performances of the year just because they got him the ball so many times. You'll love to see it. I'm still bummed he didn't get a touchdown. Really bummed. Hopefully we get one in the postseason. But Jaren just balled out. We got him over the 500-yard mark. Some of his moves after the catch were great, getting those extra yards. That's why we moved Jaren Kanak from linebacker to tight end. And people thought we were crazy for doing it. So good on Jaren. Love how he's been productive this season. He's past 500 yards. Giovanni Gibson was 3 for 66. Had some big ones. Had a really good big one for, I think, about 24. That was great. You'll love to see it. He did have a pretty bad drop over the middle when it was the weird throw, like at the umpire, and he had to duck and Giovanni had to grab it and he dropped it. You can't be having that. I understand why it was dropped because, like, you can't see over the umpire or anything. But you can see the flashes of what everyone was talking about in spring ball about Giovanni Gibson, how special he is, and why everyone was so excited in the spring. And I think that, after getting healthy a few more weeks, he may explode in the playoffs. Got him just balling. All right, he did great. Really happy for him. Really excited to see the use of a wideout a little bit more. Those bigger guys out in the middle of the field. We attacked the middle of the field on Saturday, guys. Something we've not consistently done all year. Deion Burks, of course, he had the touchdown. He had 4 receptions, 61 yards. Again, his first touchdown since week 2 versus Michigan. Got him over the 500-yard mark on the season. I hate how he's been underutilized. I think that he's really fast and really great. Just needed to give him more opportunities. Again, think he's going to do great in the postseason if we can get more consistent on offense as a whole. More consistent at quarterback, really, because the receivers have actually doing pretty good the last few weeks. And then, of course, the man of the hour. The prince that was promised. The absolute legend wearing number 5 with track star coaches and Olympians in his bloodline. One Isaiah Sategna the 3rd. 9 for 121 and a touchdown, a 58-yard touchdown. Absolute monster. The man that has single-handedly saved Oklahoma. Man has owned all 3 Tigers in the SEC this year. He had the touchdown and then a big reception on that game-winning drive against Auburn. He had the big touchdown against Missouri last week. And he had the big touchdown against LSU this week. And he had the big touchdown against Ole Miss a while back. He had a big touchdown against South Carolina. Dude's a dog. Dude is a dog. I remember all offseason, everyone's talking about John Mateer or Jaden Ott being the most influential transfer in the 2025 season. Nope! Little 5'10" Isaiah Sategna. Absolute monster. He's up to 948 yards on the season. So close. So close. Hit him up. If Mateer had hit him on a couple more, he probably could have gotten to the 1,000-yard mark. Alas, we didn't. But I expect him to make that in the playoffs. Who knows? He can probably hit it on one play. If the offense is able to crack up a big play like they have for in the last few games, he'll get it pretty dang quick. He'll get over 1,000 yards. He's got 7 touchdowns on the season. Great. The fumble against Auburn, the fumble against Ole Miss, and then one against Alabama that luckily went out of bounds. Sure, he's had some issues there, but he's more than made up for it in saving Oklahoma. And that's not an exaggeration. He saved Oklahoma's behind on Saturday, getting wide open for that touchdown. Absolutely saved Oklahoma. I can't wait for the playoff game at home or the first game of next year, whichever one comes first. And he is on the big screen is starting at wide receiver. I can't wait to hear Oklahoma. I can't wait to hear the fans and that whole stadium erupt for him. I cannot wait. Now, I would like to give an open letter. Thank you to Mario and Dahlia Sategna for being the track stars that you were and are still to this day, and for creating the most beautiful thing OU's offense has seen in the last 2 years. And your son, number 5. Dude's a legend. Dude's a legend. We love him. Thank you so much. You did good. You did good. He's a fine boy. Now, having gone over the main wide receivers of the day, I did want to see more Jermichael Carter and Keontez Lewis. Bigger targets. They're north of 6 foot. They're not necessarily the fastest guys, but they're better for the deep balls. Could have had more of those if you had those bigger guys out there, if you used them more. Could have had more opportunities to attack over the middle, which you did well, relatively speaking. Relatively speaking. Now, I will also admit, though, that Lewis and Carter don't have the explosive speed of either Sategna or Burks. So if you had Keontez Lewis out on that flat reception that Deion Burks caught, Keontez Lewis is not breaking out and getting that touchdown all the way out. Deion Burks has that speed. Isaiah Sategna has that speed. Keontae Lewis and Jermichael Carter do not. Which is fine. But needs some more dynamicness in the passing game in terms of you can't always just depend on your little quick guys. You got to get some bigger guys out there a little bit deeper and keep the defense guessing what you're going to be doing. So, yeah, that's what I've got on the wide receivers. It was refreshing to see the ball spread around because, you had 121 yards, 61 yards, 66, and 54. You had receivers all over the place, north of 50 yards. You had 4 of them. So, props, by all means. Caden Helms also had a reception, I think, for about 16 or 18 yards there at tight end. Missed a pretty big one that, however, was on John in inaccuracies. Yeah, I think that this wide receiver room and the tight ends as well, particularly Jaron Kanek, are going to do well in the postseason, assuming the John Mateer roller coaster can stop going up and down and can just find a straight away to stick to. As for the running backs, it was nowhere near what I expected. I expected to see Taylor Tatum, maybe some Jaden Ott. We saw no Taylor Tatum. We saw a little bit of Xavier Robinson. We saw a good chunk of Torrey Blaylock. And what do you know? We did see some Jaden Ott. He didn't touch the ball, but he was on the field. So Torrey, he had 11 carries for 42 yards, average of 3.8. X had 6 carries for 9 yards. Understandable. Dude's playing without any knee or knees. Both of his knees are in braces. He's banged up. Should have sat him out the whole game, in my opinion. I was kind of surprised that he touched the field at all. And then when Torrey Blaylock had to go into the injury tent for a little bit, they needed someone in at running back. So who other than Jaden Ott, who did not touch the ball at all. And as far as I'm aware, he didn't participate in the senior day festivities either. He didn't trot out, take a picture with Brent and then his family, or with President Joe Harris and AD Joe Castiglione. Nothing. He just kind of slunk off into the corner, into the shadows like he's been doing all year. Yeah. Lack of a traditional run game here really hurt Oklahoma, made them too one-dimensional, made them way too easy to defend, especially with John being up and down all day. It's got to be able to roll in the postseason. You need X to be healthy. You need Torrey to be healthy. Maybe Taylor Tatum is able to get healthy as well. Maybe with Javante Barnes probably wearing a red shirt, you'd like to see some of him in the postseason as well, assuming he's healthy and all good, which I know he was injured a little bit mid-season as well. But overall, running backs, the amount of production was the same. It was the makeup of the production that I wasn't expecting. As for the offensive line, we already talked about them a little bit, but they played really well. Didn't allow a single sack. Fabechi Wewu at center was spectacular. He snapped consistently, a couple high, but nothing crazy. Given the short notice to come in and play at center as well, absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive. Because he had 4 days notice from when Jake Michaela was not feeling up to the task, and then the game. So props to Fabechi. Absolutely fantastic. Still had false starts. Can't be doing that. And I get it. You've got a redshirt freshman and 2 true freshmen in there, but you got to figure it out. Hopefully it gets better next year. I assume it will get much better next year. Now, the defense. Man. Let's just start the way we always do. LSU's drive sheet. First half, 3 yards, punt. 0 yards, interception. 7 yards, punt. 0 yards, punt. 42 yards, field goal. 2 yards, punt. 16 yards, punt. 6 yards, end of half. Second half, 33 yards, touchdown. Courtesy of a John Mateer interception. 5 yards, punt. 3 yards, punt. 17 yards, punt. 42 yards, punt. 5 yards, punt. 22 yards, turnover on downs. They did not have a single drive go over 50 yards. Damn. Now, yes, their offense is still terrible. But it's still pretty dang, it's still impressive on the defense. Good job. And if LSU did not get one of those back 2 interceptions, it probably could have been 17-6. But anyways, that's the game of what ifs that y'all know I don't like playing. As for just overall stats on the defense, they were successful getting off the field on 12 of 14 third downs, 1 for 1 on fourth down, 67 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 0 sacks, which, again, I was kind of expecting at least 3. 5 pass breakups. Owen Heineke, Kendall Daniels, 7 tackles each. Peyton Bowen, 6 tackles. Sammy Omasigo, 5. Your most productive guys there on defense on the day. Now, probably the highlight of the day, Peyton Bowen. Junior had been fighting injuries his freshman and sophomore years. 5-star safety coming out of high school. Denton Geyer, same program as Jackson Arnold. Peyton Bowen made the 2 most crucial plays of the day on defense. Number 1 was, so John Mateer throws that pass, it gets tipped, LSU picks it off, and then gets down into the red zone. Inside the 10, it's 1st and goal. And Mike Van Buren rolls out right, and Peyton Bowen picks him off with a crazy athletic interception and saves the day. Massive moment. If he didn't get that, because honestly, if Michael Van Buren had just turned on the afterburners and ran for the touchdown, LSU would have been up 7-0, and the whole fabric of the game changes massively. So Peyton Bowen came in clutch there. And he came in clutch again on 4th and 2. It's LSU's last possession of the game. It's 4th and 2. And it had actually been a major coaching point. So in the play that Brent called up, Peyton comes in kind of blitzing after the tight end's been moved out of the way. He gets off the tight end's block and then tries to blitz the quarterback. And it had been a major coaching point this week. Peyton, you go too slow once you get off your block. You're too slow on your blitz. Get home. Get after him. Run. Fly at him. So what does he do? He turns on the gas. He steps on the gas as soon as he gets off Bauer Sharp's block, and he bats a pass down, turnover on downs. Oklahoma wins. Peyton Bowen had the 2 biggest plays on defense of the day. He didn't let it get out of hand. He stepped up. We have Billy Bowman's heir apparent right here. And we've probably got him for at least another year. Maybe a 5th. Probably not, because he's probably going to go crazy next year. With Caleb Downs going to the NFL, at Ohio State going to the NFL, there's going to be an argument for Peyton Bowen being the best safety in college football in 2026. There will be that argument. And in a similar vein, another guy that's been balling out on defense this year, the other Bowen, Mr. Eli. Sophomore corner, Peyton's younger brother, also from Denton Geyer. These guys are fantastic. These guys, they're phenomenal. They're amazing. Both of them together. Just it's kind of like the Selman brothers. Thank God for Mama Selman. Thank God for Mama Bowen. Thank you. Your boys are fantastic. So eternally grateful for the 2 of them. And when you think about it, actually, in the Red November victories that Oklahoma has had, because remember, Oklahoma's 4-0 in the month of November this year, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. There's been at least 1 interception by a Bowen brother. Tennessee, Peyton got his first career interception in college. Had a pretty solid return, set Tate Sandell up for a field goal. Alabama, Eli Bowen has his pick 6. Mizzou, Eli has the pick to seal the deal. And then against LSU, Peyton has the one that saves the day before it even gets started. The Bowen brothers are the heroes in Norman, Oklahoma for the month of November. Isaiah Sategna and the Bowen brothers are the MVPs of Oklahoma this year, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Them and probably Kip Lewis as well. They're so invaluable to this defense. They're so important here. And with Peyton being one of the top safeties in college football next year, Eli's probably going to be one of the top corners next year as well. Even though he's undersized, he's playing fantastic football. And the best part of it is as well is that you've got so many great guys behind them. You've got Cortland Guillory, who's been playing out of his mind behind them. You've got Reggie Powers III, Michael Boganowski, Devon Jordan, JJ Newcomb. And the best part of this is that you've got so many talented guys behind them. You've got Cortland Guillory, you've got Reggie Powers, you've got Michael Boganowski, Day Jordan, Man Robinson, you've got Jacoby Johnson, Jaden Hardy. You've got Jeremiah Newcomb, who had to miss this year with an injury, but you've also got Tristan Haynes and Malik Hawkins. Not to mention the recruits you have coming in, and Derek Johnson, Nico Jandro, Markel Ford, and then Michael McCreary and Michael Davis in 2027. Like, you've got elite secondary talent coming in, and you've got elite players in front of them to teach them. And you've got great position coaches in Brandon Hall at safety and Jay Valai at corner to teach them. This secondary at Oklahoma over the next couple of years is going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be really special. Now that leads me to the defense as a whole. It's freaking elite across the board. Sure, the secondary hasn't been perfect this year, but it's a lot of young guys, but they've all improved. They've all done so much to help close out November. They've all stepped up to the plate. All of them. And I'm not going to back down from saying that Oklahoma has the best defense in college football. The number one rushing defense in the country. Number one in tackles for loss and number one in sacks. Sure, they played an LSU offense that is abysmal at best. And sure, Ohio State is totally dominating everyone that they play, despite it, with the help of the cupcake level of their schedule. And even Texas, yes, Texas, and Michigan are the only teams worthy of note on Ohio State's schedule. No offense to everyone else on there. But in the big moments this year, when Oklahoma's defense had to have it, they got it. Against Texas, there was no massive moment where they had to have it because the offense sold the game. Against Ole Miss, there were moments where they had to have it, and they made it happen there in the third and fourth quarters for the offense. The offense failed to capitalize. Tennessee, they made it happen. Alabama, they made it happen. Missouri, they didn't really have to, but they made it work. LSU, a couple of big plays. They made it happen. Peyton Bowen and Eli Bowen leading the charge on that. When they needed to hold down the fort, they came in and they delivered in spades. And this isn't a knock on Ohio State's defense either. I think it's an excellent unit. But I genuinely, this is not sarcastic, I would love an opportunity to see Ohio State's defense be in the same situation as Oklahoma's this year. Put Ohio State's defense coupled with Oklahoma's offense in the SEC this year with the defensive coaching staff and see the mental and emotional identity of that Ohio State defense against this schedule in these situations. Would they be able to pull through in these moments where they have to have it? Would they get it when they need it every time? Now, this isn't me comparing Oklahoma and Ohio State's complete teams, because ultimately Ohio State is a better complete team because their offense is playing at such a high level that they are taking the weight off the shoulders of the defense. But what if that Ohio State defense had to carry the offense? What conversations will we be having about Ohio State? That is why I think the Oklahoma defense is better than Ohio State's, because we've seen them in those do-or-die situations, and they've done every time that they've needed to, every single time. It's those intangible qualities, I think, that put Oklahoma's defense over Ohio State's, and that's the whole hard-to-kill mantra right there. Hard to kill. Go get them. Will the team to victory through great defense. Now, of course, that wasn't enough this time. Oklahoma's offense had to will itself to victory. Kip Lewis got up in John Mateer's face and started punching him in the chest. Man, We're behind you. We need you. You have to will us to victory this time. And he did. He stepped up in the very moment that we needed him the most. He showed up. So that speaks to the whole identity of Oklahoma. And that being said, let's talk about, to close today out, let's talk about Brent and what he has done in his 4 years at Oklahoma. December of 2021, Lincoln Riley flees Norman, Oklahoma in the middle of the night after a week earlier saying he was committed to Oklahoma. And then he runs away in the middle of the night to Los Angeles. Takes most of the coaches and players with him. And leaves Oklahoma in ashes for Brent Venables to have to pick up the pieces and try to rebuild it. And everyone's saying Brent Venables he's never been a head coach. It's not going to be pretty. Yeah, it wasn't going to be pretty. And everyone's saying, oh, USC is going to be great. Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams are going to go on, win the Heisman, win the Pac-12, win a national championship. The only thing that happened there was they lost the Pac-12. Caleb Williams did win the Heisman. But Brent Venables has made the college football playoff before Lincoln Riley. And he started with nothing. Nothing. Started with nothing but the guys that chose to stay and just a salvaged 2022 class. And Brent Venables has made the college football playoff in his 4th year as head coach at the University of Oklahoma. And don't get me wrong, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of failure, tons of growing pains. Brent had so much to learn about being a head coach. And it was not pretty. I remember my freshman year at Oklahoma, 2022, was his first season. And it hurt. I blocked out most of 2022 because of how much it hurt. 2023 was great. It was a great step in the right direction. And you could see the defense was starting to do what he needed it to do. And then 2024, the offense was just so bad. But the defense was stepping up and fighting so hard. And they were still keeping you in every game. Until eventually just the offense just couldn't anymore. And the defense just had to fall so far behind because they were exhausted. And then for my senior year, now granted, I don't go to Oklahoma anymore. But to see this, I mean, being raised an Oklahoma fan, it means so much to see this kind of do or die attitude in Norman. And this be my Oklahoma team my senior year, which is just fantastic to watch. It's his intensity, it's his blue-collar work ethic, it's his attention to the details, his be excellent in the little things, and the world is what it is. His comments after the game on Saturday, oh, do you think you guys should host a playoff game? That's not up to us. We would be happy to just be invited to the playoff. Wherever they want us to be, we will show up and we will play. Unlike another SEC coach whose team is 9-3 is saying if we don't make the playoff, the system's a joke. We deserve to be in the playoff. No, you don't. You lost to a 9-3 or a 4-8. Excuse me. You are 9-3, but you lost to a 4-8 Florida team. But why should we be punished for scheduling a hard out of conference opponent at the beginning of the year? That's not why you're being punished, Sark. You're being punished because you lost to a 4-8 Florida team. Take care of business in conference. And that loss versus Ohio State doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but you're still in the playoff at 10-2 if you beat Florida. Win your games, man. So I'm glad that we have a Brent Venables type of head coach that just accepts the way the world is and says, we were in position to win games, we lost them, and we were in control of what we could and couldn't do, and we did lose 2 games. So if we don't make it in the playoffs, that's on us because we will not have delivered. Well, he's delivered, and you cannot argue with the fact that Brent Venables is a class act. And you see, every single one of his players has become a mini version of him, with the exception of Jaden Ott. But you can see in their eyes, they love Brent. They would fight and die for Brent. They would follow him into the fiery gates of hell. And they have. Seeing their retention after 2024, with the dumpster fire that the 2024 season was, seeing that roster retention is massive. And it's because of Brent Venables and this coaching staff and what they've built in Norman over the last 4 years. As for all the Brent Venables haters, who for the last 4 years have been saying, he isn't a head coach, he's not cut out for it, he's bad, he's stupid. Why would he go call his own plays on defense? That's dumb. Every single one of you needs to make as much noise with your handwritten apologies as you made with all of your hate these last 4 years. Every single one of you. Because this man took a program that was left in the mud for dead and took his time and rebuilt it from the ground up the right way and is now contending for a college football playoff. Because he and his guys are hard to kill. 4 years ago, Brent Venables came to Norman and he promised us that he was going to bring a brand of physical, dominant, and aggressive defense coupled with complementary offense. That was what he promised us. The defense is here. And the offense, at times, is here. And one can argue that it is definitely here because we've managed to go out and win 10 games. And do it in the SEC. When everyone said Oklahoma is going to be the new Nebraska. Oklahoma's not cut out for the SEC anymore. Oklahoma's history. No. Brent Venables looked down the barrel and said no. And has bought himself security at Oklahoma for, I'd expect, at least 2 more years. And I expect the offense to take off much better next year. And he will be just fine. Oklahoma has found its head coach in Brent Venables. A return to it's a similar brand of Bob Stoops back in the 2000s and the 2010s. Except it's even more intense. It's even more insane and psychotic because Brent is just that intense and dedicated and driven of a person. And we still love Bob. We still love Bob, absolutely. But Brent's just a little bit crazier. And that's what you need at Oklahoma. That's what you want. A really great guy that's a great coach. And absolutely psycho when it comes time. Because you saw all his getting up at the refs in recent weeks. And you've seen his sellies on the sidelines with the guys. The smile on his face after Peyton Bowen blocked the 4th and 2. I've never seen him that happy in his 4 years as head coach at Oklahoma. And I have no doubt that with the success of this season, 10-2 in year 4, year 2 in the SEC, after the 2024 dumpster fire, I don't care. No matter what happens in the postseason, this season of 2025 has been a astonishing success. There's not a single Oklahoma fan on the face of the earth that can look at this season and legitimately complain. I don't think. Sure, you can nitpick on the offense, but you won 10 games in the SEC after you went 6-6. You went and you figured it out, and you are making waves in the recruiting cycle over the next 2 years. Right now, the 2026 class with early signing day coming up this week, ranked 15th in the nation. Right now, the 2027 class ranked 2nd in the nation. And they're not done. They're nowhere near done. And then next year, your offensive coordinator, he's going to have more experience. He will get better. Ideally, your quarterback is going to go out and fix his mechanics and get better at the game. And you're going to have better talent in wide receiver. Bet you're going to go into the transfer portal and get a couple big pieces to work with, which means Arbuckle and Mateer are going to be able to dig into the war chest more. Your offensive line is going to be more experienced because Michael Fasusi, Eddie Pierre-Louis, and Ryan Foje are incredibly talented. And they're young. And with another year of experience under their belt and a whole offseason to get better, plus maybe go out and get a big transfer or two, and with Deacon Schmidt and Noah Best coming in this recruiting cycle, your offensive line is going to be much better next year. The overall talent on your offensive side of the ball next year is going to be ahead of last year's, or this year's, I should say. And you're going to be able to perform at a much better level. And the defense will probably be at a comparable level. This Oklahoma program is hard to kill. That is the definition of Brent Venables at Oklahoma. And honestly, the university needs to take those t-shirts that the players have now, and they need to sell those online on Fanatics and at the shop at the stadium as well. They need to be legit clones of what the players and coaches are wearing, because then when you buy those, it goes back to the program. Those would fly off the shelves in a day. I'd buy 100 of them. Don't quote me on that. I'd lose all my money. I'd buy a bunch. But as for now, while we await our t-shirts, the defense is going to keep the offense in whatever matchup they have in the postseason, whether it's Notre Dame or somebody else, or if it's at Notre Dame or at home, wherever, whoever, the defense is going to do its job. And with a month off, a lot of these dinged up guys are going to get better and come back. R. Mason Thomas, you're probably going to get him back. Troy Blaylock, Xavier Robinson, Giovanni Gibson, and Keontez Lewis are going to get healthier as well after their injuries. Older guys on the offensive line as well are going to get closer to coming back. Jake Michael is probably going to be feeling better. And with the extra time to prepare, we saw how Oklahoma had the entire offseason to prep for Michigan. And they came out and they controlled the entire game. Alabama, they had 2 weeks to prepare. They dominated. Or I won't say that they dominated, but they took care of business. They controlled it. That's what you need now. You need to go take care of the little things in the next 3 weeks. And you need to prep for whoever you're playing and come out and control them when it's time to play in 3 weeks. And if they find a way, if Mateer finds a way to level out his roller coaster, and if the offense altogether can come together and play consistent B plus, maybe even A minus ball, Oklahoma has a shot to make a run of some kind here in the 2025 college football playoffs. But that is a discussion for another day. Well, Sooner Nation, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the WhackoReview Podcast, where we go over all things OU football every Monday after the weekend of matchups behind us. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. We are available on YouTube and on Spotify. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, game highlights, and, of course, some memes to keep it lighthearted and fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation, especially at 10-2 and going to the playoffs. Go hit those follows so you're always in the Wacko loop. And join us Friday morning for our recruiting special as we go over the early signees of the 2026 recruiting class at the University of Oklahoma. Well, Sooner Nation, we did it. We're going to the playoffs. BV, in BV we trust. Absolutely. Boomer Sooner.